So this bird had been seen down on the ground for many months by Maureen Bergman, who is, where's your hand, waving her hand back here. I want you to give this lady a hand, please. Because Maureen went way out of her way and to do everything right for this bird. It was seen down on the ground for several months before it actually came into our care. And at first it was sort of flying, but not flying well. And over time, it just progressively became more and more and more grounded. And unfortunately for the bird, it wasn't able to then go and acquire food and really survive to the utmost where it should have been able to do in the wild. So Maureen sort of sought help. She was looking for people to come and capture the bird or to try to identify the bird. And this, with some miscommunication and some other resource challenges, she wasn't able to find anybody right away. But as the bird was grounded, two things happened. One, she was able to provide an appropriate diet for this bird, which is incredibly important, because I can't tell you from the rehabilitation standpoint, people always want to do the right things, but they don't always know exactly what to give animals. And things like hot dogs and donuts are not exactly the best food for wild animals. They don't go around foraging for them in the woods. But Maureen fed an appropriate diet while she was still continuing to look for help for this bird. The other amazing thing is that the mate of this bird also decided to try to contribute to the health of the pair. And the male bird was seen frequently coming in with bits of food, which it would drop off for this female, just to try to keep her going, to try to keep her alive, and really it was just an amazing thing to see. So eventually, when the bird was being a little bit destructive, it was still in the same area for a long period of time. A biologist from the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries was able to come out and assist and capture the bird to find out, what's wrong with it. And it was noted that there was a lot of feathers that were broken on the bird's wings and a few in the tail. And the bird was sent to a veterinary clinic here in Richmond, where it received an initial physical exam, and then it was transferred to the Wildlife Center of Virginia for further diagnostics and further evaluation. And that was on June 6th. So it's been 5 months since we've had this bird, and we've been able to do a lot of different diagnostics on the bird to really figure out, why is this bird losing its feathers, or why are they broken? Unfortunately, we don't have a solid answer for it, and that's unfortunate. But we do know that the bird has gotten better. Is that the bird gained weight with us over time, was put on an appropriate diet, its blood was perfect, because we look at that every once in a while. We do exams looking for parasites, and everything turned out to be great. The one problem is that the feathers take a long time to grow back, and in ravens it can take 4 to 6 weeks for one feather to grow back, and it may be a couple of days between when one feather finishes and the next one starts, because you don't want to lose all of your feathers at once, because the bird can't fly. That's what happens with ducks and geese. They lose all of their feathers on their wings at once, but they have a pond or a lake to go to, and they can still find food, and they grow all their feathers in at once. Ravens, they lose them a couple at a time. And it's usually the same feather on the opposite wing. So they'll lose these ones, and then they'll lose these ones, and then they'll lose these ones, but they can still fly over the entire period. This bird unfortunately lost a whole bunch of feathers at once, and that's why it was grounded. So some of the feathers did grow back naturally on their own, and that's wonderful. But in order to get this bird back out into the wild, especially in time for the next breeding season, which will occur early next year, we've tried to do a few things that are a little bit unusual. We used a technique called imping. That's I-M-P-I-N-G. And it's a technique where we graft a feather from another bird, one that potentially didn't make it, and we graft it onto the recipient bird, the bird that needs the new feather. And this is a really old falconry technique. It's been out there for thousands of years. Falconers have used this to take a good feather and graft it onto the broken feather on the donor or on the bird. And we use bamboo skewers, because they're really lightweight, and we can shave them down really easily. And we put the little piece of wood inside the shaft of the new feather, and then we insert it into the stump of the old feather, and we glue it in place. And then we have a grafted feather, a brand new feather on that bird. And when we did that, now the bird has a full range of flight feathers. We can then put it into a large flight pen and give it the opportunity to fly back and forth, and build up those all-important muscles that it needs to fly. And we've been doing that for the last month or so, the last 2 months.
How big
And
is that pen?
how big is the pen?
Yeah.
The pen that we have for we use for this raven as well as for eagles as well is about 100 feet from end to end, from perch to perch. Yeah, and it's so that the bird has the opportunity to fly all the way to this end and then all the way to that end. And my colleagues at the Wildlife Center go out daily, and they basically will move the bird back and forth and essentially force the bird to exercise.
Right.
And you know, it would be great if somebody were to do that to me. But then again, you know, somebody chasing after you and making you move anyway. This bird is now physically fit, has wonderful stamina, and is able to now, we feel that this bird should be able to thrive back in the environment again. So this is just such a wonderful story, for one thing, and it took an entire community in order to watch the bird, in order to save the bird, in order to look after the bird's health, and then provide an opportunity and a location for us to release the bird. I just want to thank everybody here for following the story, for supporting this bird, supporting our efforts to help this bird, and see this bird back out in the wild. Do you have a question?
What do you know about the mate?
The mate, that's a great question. There's been, Maureen, for one, has been looking to see if the mate has been in the area. She has a great view where the nest has been historically. She hasn't seen the mate. Sergio Harding, who's the non-game biologist, avian biologist from the Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, he's looked around the area several times to see if he could find the mate as well, and he hasn't seen any other ravens. Now, ravens have a really big territory, and so what brings a raven into a nest is the fact that it's going to have babies there. And so with no babies, there's no reason to stick around that nest per se. So that raven could be, the pair could be, the other bird in the pair could be absolutely anywhere, and it may just be that it may come back in the spring when it's time to nest, and that's when they'll get back together. It could be that the male raven has found another mate and that they have moved on to another site. I don't know that we're really going to know, but it's great that we have people who are continuing to watch the site, and we may get more to this story as time goes on.
You will keep us posted.
Absolutely, definitely. As long as Maureen continues to let us know, we can spread the word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no problem.
Will the transplanted feathers molt normally now?
They will. Yeah. And the nice thing about where these feathers were fractured, it was at least an inch away from where it attaches to the skin. That's what allows us to actually do the imping. If it's too close to the skin, there's nothing to put the new feather into, and then you're forced to wait for the new feather to molt. So with that stub that's still in place, the feathers will definitely molt on their own. And in fact, I suspect, I think the molting in ravens is May through December, and so it's likely going to have all of the new feathers by the end of the year. And there are a few feathers that are still in blood right now, so they're still growing out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Where was the bird found?
The bird was found on Staples Mill Road. That's correct. So just as the raven flies, it's approximately what, 3 miles? What did you say, Rex? 2 miles. Yeah, 2 miles in that direction. That's a great question. The question was, do we know how old the bird was, and do we do anything or place anything on this bird to find out, can we identify it in the future? We don't know how old this bird is, unfortunately. Ravens, males and females, tend to be very, very similar in all external aspects. And so looking at this bird, with some animals like some of the hawks and owls, you can look at the feather patterns or the shape of the feathers, or with owls you can actually take a UV light and shine it on the wing feathers, and they glow in different colors, and that will tell you the age. That's fascinating. But ravens, you can't do that, so we don't have a good age on this bird. And in terms of identifying it, the best thing that I can tell you is we do band all of our raptors, so we place a metal ring with a number on it around the leg on the raptors. However, I'm not permitted to band anything except for raptors, so I can't legally put anything on this bird. And there was no, we do sometimes put satellite transmitters on some of the larger birds like eagles, and we can find out where they're going. And our policy basically is when we do put those transmitters on, they have to be part of a larger study to contribute towards the population of that bird. So, and unfortunately there's no current research going on. What I can tell you is that a couple of those feathers that we imped, just before they set, they kind of twisted just a little bit. And so if you look at this bird, you'll see that a couple of those feathers are actually just a little bit twisted. And she flies just great, but it's a great identifying feature. So if you see a raven out there with a couple of twisted feathers on their wings, that's her.
How long do they typically live, the ravens?
It depends on if they're in captivity or if they're in the wild.
Just an average.
Yeah, on an average 5 to 10 years in the wild. Question?
So since ravens are so rare in this area, I'm assuming you brought her back here because this is near where she was found. Is there a good possibility she'll be able to find a new mate, or if the old mate doesn't come back? Is she gonna have a good chance for whatever ravens do as far as friends? Right.
That, we decided to bring her back to the Richmond area because she was familiar with the surroundings. And they've got fantastic memories. There are some amazing studies out there on ravens just documenting how creative they are, their ability to remember things. They are known for caching food. So they will actually take food and they will take it to a location where only they know, and they'll stockpile it away, and then they can come back months later and then they can come and find it again. So chances are if this bird has been raised in the area and has flown around this area, chances are it knows where the food sources are. It knows that this intersection is great for dead squirrels. And over here, we can get some berries over here, and so
it's likely she'll go back to her
It's likely
nest.
she'll probably stay in this area. But when that urge comes to breed, if she can't find another mate, typically what happens is they will start to range out, and they will start to look for mates that way. So there's certainly no guarantees that the bird is going to stick in the area.
Right.
We can just provide her with the best opportunity that we know of. And,
Right,
and,
but then she'll take care of the rest.
and then
She'll be
take care of
okay
the
to go
rest.
elsewhere.
That's
Oh,
exactly
cool.
it. I also want to just take one more opportunity to thank the Richmond Park and Recreation Department. This has just been an excellent place for us to release this bird, and for allowing us to come here. And I'll also thank you very much to the Friends of the Park for all your work that you do to keep this park up and running and available for both people and the animals.
Thank you for the background.
Thank you very much. Give your hand for what you do.
All right, is everybody ready? Yeah.
Here we go.
Ooh, all right. A little slow, but off we go. Runway.